Welcome to Delightful Labor, Open Source Nonprofit Management. This video is going to describe the installation process for Delightful Labor. We're going to install Delightful Labor on a web hosting account, and we'll go through the process now. The first step is to download the latest version of the software. If you go to the user's guide at delightfullabor.com, there's a handy link to the SourceForge page where you can download the most recent version of the software. So we click on the download button, and we save it to our computer. Now the next step is to upload the software to our Internet Service Provider account and create the blank database that will be populated when we do the installation. Now these steps are going to vary from service provider to service provider, and so if you have familiarity with the cPanel that's common among Internet accounts, you shouldn't have much of a problem. There's also a step-by-step guide for using the cPanel on the user's guide. So I'll just go through very briefly what's involved. So from the cPanel, to create the database, you will select the option for MySQL databases. You'll create the database, give it a name. Make sure you write this down because you'll need this later. Then you'll need to create a user, a database user, again through the cPanel. Again, write down the username and password. And then we associate the user to the database. Next, we assign all privileges to the user. And then we're all set. Our database should be ready. So we have a blank database at this point. Then we upload the software to our ISP account. Again, through the cPanel, we'll go to File Manager. We'll create a directory. And once again, write down the name of the folder that you're creating, because that will be part of the URL that you use to access Delightful Labor. So in this example, we've created a directory called Go Freedonia. We upload the software. We extract the zip package, and after extracting the files, we're all set to run our installation. So at this point, you would take your domain name and the path to the directory that you just created, add index.php and install, and this will bring up the installation utility. Typically your hostname will be localhost, and in the example that I'm doing now, our database is called PD Austin Demo. Our database user is also demo. And so we've told the installation program the name of our server, the database name, the user, and the password. We click Install, and the database has been created, and we are ready to log in. So the next step is to click on the link to log us in. Initially, the username and password is admin and admin, and we are all set. So At this point, the first thing we need to do is to change our password and update our account information. For security reasons, you don't want to leave the default admin password on your system. So there's a handy link here to take us to our account, or we could go to admin and the accounts directory. Let's just open this in a new tab. So here's our default account. So we're going to update that. We check our various form fields, and I'm going to intentionally make a mistake on this form. The email field is required, but I'm going to leave it blank. I'd like to show you what happens when Delightful Labor detects a problem in the form submission. So we submit it, and we get a message up here. A problem was detected in the form. We scroll down, and sure enough, it's highlighted the field that caused the problem. In this case, it needed the email field. We resubmit the form, and now our status window shows that our account information has been successfully updated. After updating our account information, let's update the information about our organization. So we go to the organization record under admin, and our nonprofit is Go Fredonia, so let's update that. The banner tagline will be displayed at the top of the Delightful Labor window. We'll update our address information. We'll check the various defaults, the time zone, and so forth. Also, we can update the vocabulary that the program will use for things like zip code, state, and so forth. Some countries use postal code as opposed to zip code, and so forth. So you can add whatever is appropriate there. We'll save the record. And as we see up here, our banner tagline has been updated and our organization information is updated. Now we're at a point where a little planning will come in handy. We're going to set up various lists and defaults, and so the first thing we want to do is set up what currencies our organization plans to use. So we'll go to Admin and Lists, and then the accounting countries of origin. And we'll go through this list and check any country that we anticipate receiving donations from. You can always come back. This is not cast in stone. And you can always come back later and add or remove countries. So let's add Iceland. Okay, we'll update our accounting countries. Next, let's add a user account. We'll add one for Sally, the intern, because she's going to do 99% of the work for our organization. So we go to Admin, Delightful Labor Accounts, the account directory, and we'll add a new user. We select her date preference, her measurements preference, and her account permissions. In this case, we're not going to make Sally an administrator. We're going to make her a user, but we're going to give her access to all these various areas of the program. Again, the email field is required. So Sally this point, Sally can log in and begin doing data entry and getting busy. Okay, let's add some groups. Groups are very powerful. It helps consolidate different parent records. So to access the groups, we go to admin and then lists. And under lists, we have all these various groups. So let's add people groups for our board members and our advisory board. So we go to people groups. Initially, there's no groups. Let's make a group for board members. And a group for the advisory board. We return to lists, and let's add a couple of business groups. We'll add the business group for pro bono services, affiliated nonprofits, and Adecos. So as we add businesses and organizations to our database, we can add them to the appropriate groups. Next, we want to set up our donation management system. This is going to be very unique to each organization. For Go Fredonia, we send out quarterly newsletters, and we want to track the donations in response to these newsletters. We also have various capital campaigns where we're building a new children's facility called the Bluebonnet House, and we're building a community garden center called Fredonia Gardens. So let's set up accounts and campaigns to support our donations that we receive. So again, we go back to lists, and we go to accounts and campaigns. So we'll initially there's a couple of default accounts, one for sponsorships, and one is the default one for undirected donations. But let's set ours up. So we'll add a new account for quarterly newsletters, and then let's set up entries for the newsletters we sent out this year. First quarter, second quarter, third quarter, and fourth quarter. Okay, so we're all set to receive donations through our newsletter. Now let's set up an account for our capital campaigns. And we'll add campaigns for our two buildings that we're building. So first the Bluebonnet Home, and next the Fredonia Gardens. So just to review, we have installed the software for Delightful Labor. We created a blank database. We ran the installation program to create the proper structure for the database. And we changed our login information, added an account, and set up a few list entries and our donation management structure. Well, thank you again for your interest in Delightful Labor, and I hope this video has been helpful.